It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks for being here. All right, you ready for this? I'm laughing because this is, I think this is from yesterday. It could be from the day before. Scott Jennings on CNN. Here we go. All right, just they never stop. But I'm only going to play a couple clips because there's a moment I want to stop because it makes the point. Here we go.
Would you advise someone, even if they're very angry, even if they don't like the laws, to insert themselves into the middle of an active law enforcement situation?
If they see something wrong, absolutely.
You would advise a person or a client of yours to literally engage in the middle of an active law enforcement matter?
If they see something wrong, I would say yes. I would say definitely
that's a crime.
I would say put your.
Alex Reddy was filming with a phone. You're advising people to commit crime.
Wow. It's like walking into a pet adoption center with nothing but baby chihuahuas. My gosh.
All right, this is really interesting because it comes from Mark Mitchell from Rasmussen Reports, the Republican pollster.
Okay.
What, didn't he meet with Trump? He met with Trump in December or November? Was it?
Yeah, it was. I think it was in November. Yeah,
and was saying you got to get this. You've got to focus.
Right. Yeah.
And he yesterday, this was in the New York Post, and Trump may have lost the political plot, but here's how he can still win the midterms, and a lot of it mirrors exactly what we have said. Donald Trump did not win the 2024 election because America suddenly became meaningfully more Republican. He won because many voters, many of them independents and crossover Democrats, many of them young, had lost trust in the system and believed he was willing to confront it. I'm the head pollster for Rasmussen Reports. In our final 2024 polling, 42% of Trump's electorate came from independents and Democrats. This is not a MAGA monoculture. It is a fragile coalition built on one thing, accountability. Voters did not elect Trump to manage decline. They elected him to fix things that were not working. That's why Doge mattered. For a brief moment, it validated what Americans, particularly younger voters, already believe, that the federal government is bloated, corrupt, self-dealing, and largely insulated from consequences. Under 40 voters, the most disillusioned cohort by many measures, were the most supportive of Doge and most open to arrest for corruption, and most likely to agree with the statement that he who saves the country violates no laws. Trump's approval among voters under 40 hit 60%, almost exactly when Google search interest in Doge peaked. That alignment should have frozen Republican politics in Washington in place. Instead, Doge was quietly sidelined. And Trump's approval among younger voters has since fallen sharply into the low 40s. That is not a coincidence. It is a signal. Rather than doubling down on systemic accountability, the last few months have felt unfocused, with counter-signaling on affordability and jobs, infighting, the Epstein saga, renewed foreign entanglements, and a governing posture that feels reactive rather than intentional. Voters are noticing. Despite Trump's unsurprising personal approval rating today, net -7, by the way, his approval rating in Rasmussen was tied for the low yesterday at 43%. The Democrat lead on the generic ballot has steadily widened to Democrats +6. That should set off alarms. The November 2024 election was about Trump, not Republican, and off-cycle special elections continue to reinforce that reality. Momentum, enthusiasm, and turnout are not automatic for Republicans. The Republican Party has not helped. Its legislative output is thin. Its ability to deliver tangible wins is questionable. Even the bare minimum serious accountability investigations has largely failed to materialize. There is no clear path to a 2026 victory if this continues, which is why what happened in Minnesota mattered so much. The discovery of rampant alleged fraud in Minnesota was a gift. It offered a rare opportunity to shift the national conversation away from Republican dysfunction and towards something Americans overwhelmingly agree on. 3/4 of the voters are angry about the level of waste, fraud, and abuse in the federal government. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has cited figures as high as $300 billion to $600 billion annually. That is not budget trimming. That is empire fatal. This was the moment for a full-scale anti-blue state fraud push. Follow the money, subpoena everything, make examples, send every agency in, even the 80,000 armed IRS agents we should have fired. If fraud is that widespread, maybe austerity is not the answer. Maybe arrests are. Instead, the focus of the administration shifted. ICE was surged into Minneapolis. What could have been a systemic fraud investigation became a performative deportation spectacle. Predictable protests followed, then escalation, more ICE presence, mask, tear gas, aggressive enforcement. Within days, the headlines were no longer about uncovering fraud. They were about clashes, optics, and ultimately the tragic shooting deaths of two protesters. The ICE red meat might be cathartic for some, but politically effective, no. Our polling has been consistent for years on this point. Americans want illegal immigration stopped. That is not a dispute. They want criminals deported. They want the border enforced, but they also want fairness, not brutality, and they recoil when enforcement looks indiscriminate, theatrical, or excessive. A plurality of Americans now say ICE tactics are too harsh, even while still supporting deportation in principle. That tension is not ideological, it is emotional. We've covered all that, haven't we?
Yep.
Trump made matters worse by signaling a narrowing of deportations to only the worst criminals while simultaneously negotiating with Tim Walz, who reportedly has an active criminal referral at the Department of Justice. To many in Trump's coalition, this likely feels like a rug pull, as my barrage of private X messages imply, a betrayal of expectations, something uncomfortably close to read my lips. Here's what should worry the White House most. Voters trust big business almost as little as they trust the federal government itself. By a 5-1 margin, voters say businesses have too much influence in the Trump administration, not too little. By the way, you know, when Trump talks about us getting equity and all that.
Yeah, right.
And then, you know, anytime his sons do a deal, the populists don't like that.
Right.
That's what I call the independents and Democrats. They don't like that at all. Americans do not just want illegal immigrants removed. They want the hiring magnet destroyed. They overwhelmingly support punishing companies that employ illegal labor. That policy outperforms Trump's personal approval by nearly 30 net points. It's not even close. So the obvious question follows, what is stopping this administration from going after the employers? Something we brought up last week, right?
Yep.
Or this week we brought that up.
Yeah.
Likewise, federal E-Verify mandate is ridiculously popular. Why have the Republicans been unable to pluck this low-hanging fruit? Is it donor pressure, fear of the markets? Is Trump the tribune of the forgotten voter being restrained by corporate interest from the outside. It increasingly looks that way. There is a clean path forward. Keep Doge front and center. Launch relentless investigations into blue state hubs. Hammer corporate law breaking and worker exploitation. Restore trust through accountability. Instead, the administration chose theatrics over results and is paying the price politically. This can still be fixed, but only if Trump remembers why he was elected, not to manage the system, not to appease donors, not to chase viral moments, make the system fear consequences again. Americans are not asking for chaos. They're asking for justice, and they're still waiting. Mark Mitchell. I think he also underestimated he mentioned it, affordability. I think he underestimated that in this right here.
Yeah.
In this article.
Right.
He mentioned affordability, but he didn't focus it as much as he did other things, which I do believe had an impact without question. And the Republicans, like I said, when it came to the fraud and everything else, snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. Is that
yeah.
Did I say that correctly?
Yeah, it's, and that's the problem, again, and I don't know what has changed here in the last week. I don't know what's happened. Well, that affects, but there is something, either a set of events or a set of meetings, a group of people, or maybe just one person. I don't know. Susie Wiles, I don't know.
Could be Mark Mitchell talking to him again. Mark
Mitchell and Susie Wiles sitting down. I mean, if Mark is there, Susie's making that happen. But you have to look at what's going on. This particular president, as a person, has always been known as the guy who is, he's a billionaire, but he gets along better with the common person, the guys wearing the construction hats, than the people in the boardrooms. Part of that as president is knowing what's going on in their lives. Remember, he's a former McDonald's worker. The reason that didn't come off badly for him is because of the way that he was talking to people during that. It was a photo op. But sometimes those photo ops can go very wrong. Dukakis wearing a helmet.
Yeah.
And there are things that you have to go way back for that. That's 1988, folks. There are things that it's just that have to be in place, and you have to know. You don't have to be the common person. Again, he's probably one of very few billionaires who can get the attention and also relate to the everyday person. But on some of these issues, he hasn't done that.
Well, when I heard Homan yesterday speak, I went, well, that was actually should be Trump's message, which it is, because he's a surrogate of Trump.
Yeah.
But when I heard what he said, that should have been Trump's message all the time. And you and I talked about it here in the last week when it was like, well, we're only going to go after the worst criminals. That isn't the message. Your base, again, you're reacting instead of being proactive. You're reacting and then ticking off your own base. And on Doge, as we said, and even the Doge checks, the tariff checks and everything else, don't overpromise. But still, Mark Mitchell, even though he brings up affordability, I don't know why. Affordability is huge, and Mark Mitchell knows it.
Yeah.
And he seems to sideline that as a big issue.
Right.
Because you can accomplish all those things that Mark Mitchell's talking about and still lose big time in November because of affordability. Because you said you were going to fix it.
Right. Well,
he said
and
prices come down day one.
Yeah.
And they didn't. And as we have said, the whole reason MAGA means nothing anymore is because MAGA didn't elect the president. Independents and Democrats did.
well,
That's how he won, and they had specific things that they wanted. You lose them, you can have all of MAGA and get destroyed in an election.
yeah, your core's with you, but that it wasn't the core that put you over the top.
And Mitchell said what we have said over and over again for any Republican. What you need to do is you need to take conservative principles and convince independents to vote for you, which he did, and then follow through on it. Don't overpromise. Tell them the truth. Again, when he said prices will come down day one, we said it when he said it a number of times. We said that's not happening. Don't promise that. Don't do it. With the whole Doge thing, the problem with Doge is you way overpromised. Way overpromised. To the point where we knew it was and we got pounded on it by members of our own audience, and we said you're not going to cut $2 trillion. You're not going to cut $1 trillion. You're lucky if you could cut $50 billion.
And you're not going to write Doge checks to people.
No,
It's not going to happen.
as we said, but it's not because we're smart. Well, sort of. We understand the figures and what the budget is.
Right.
It's that simple.
Right.
And you cannot cut $1 trillion or $2 trillion and win an election for the next decade if you do that.
Right. I mean, complete programs would go away.
And now, by the way, we would love to see that happen.
If you could make it happen,
Right.
I will have a parade to celebrate how wrong I was. But it's not going to happen. And I'm not wrong.
And bringing Doge back today, I don't see that as saving the election. I disagree
That's
with
not.
Mark Mitchell
Yeah,
on that
that's
one.
that's not going to do anything. It's over.
We're Red Eye Radio.
Brought to you by FPPF Fuel Power Max.
Owner-operators with authority generally have two options when it comes to sourcing freight. Brokers on the spot market or directly from the source, the shipper. As any trucker with relatively recent experience with spot freight knows, the highs of working the load boards can be really high. On the other side of that coin, however, when the market flips in favor of shippers, it can be tough to keep your business afloat working with brokers. The smallest carriers with direct customers, however, can hang on through tough times or even prosper, as long as demand for their customers' product remains at least somewhat stable. Owner-operators in it for the long haul make direct business with customers a principal goal. Owner-Operator Business 101 is provided by Overdrive's Partners in Business program. Go to overdriveonline.com to the Partners in Business section of the website for more detail on this and many other topics.
Brought to you by Shell Rotella, with advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
We are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Now, maybe one of the good things is, as we had mentioned, I think it was either November or early December, where Mark Mitchell from Rasmussen sat down with the president. He actually, talked about it, and we had brought it up at the time, saying, "Look, you got to do something on these things. You just can't ignore them. There's things the people voted you for a particular reason. I'm a Republican pollster. Here's why they voted for you."
Yep.
And now he's doing it again. He did it yesterday in the New York Post on the day that the president in Rasmussen tied for his lowest numbers at 43% approval rating.
Right. You need your party for the second half of your term, Mr. President.
Well, you need the independents, too.
Yep.
More than your party.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right, let's play some of our favorite audio of yesterday. Okay?
All right.
This one actually is 11 months old. It was after last year's Oscars, but it was on stolen land that, the Hollywood celebrities keep mentioning. And this was Bill Maher last year after the Oscars talking about it. You ready? Here we go. All right.
And finally, new rule memo to Democrats. If you ever want to win an election again, the absolute most important first step is stop doing this.
We gather in celebration of the Oscars on the ancestral lands of the Tongva, Tataviam, and Chumash peoples, the traditional caretakers of this water and land.
Yeah, I don't know if we're still saying cringe. But if we are, that's this. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Either give the land back or shut the up.
That's pretty much it. Haven't heard anything about her giving it back. I'm guessing she's not going to do that.
That reporter from Great Britain, that went viral yesterday. That we played that audio cut yesterday. We're standing outside our house. Billy, hello, Billy.
Yeah.
You got walls up, keeping people out.
Yep.
You've got a security fence and huge shrubbery out here.
Yeah.
We can't get in.
Well, they're often the ones on the left talking about, guns. We must control guns while they have, of course, armed security themselves.
Then this story came out. Bernie Sanders, who crisscrossed the country last year on his Fighting Oligarchy tour with AOC, spent $550,000 on private jet travel for himself using his campaign funds. So there you go. Does he truly believe in climate change? No. Otherwise, he wouldn't have done that.
No.
He would have made it a electric bus tour.
Well, it's like the first climate czar, John Kerry. Well, someone like me can't be expected to fly a commercial.
Lovey.
Bunch of ketchup eaters on a plane. Ew.
I'm Mr. Howell. I can't do those things.
I can't be expected to fly a commercial.
All right, here's more. And by the way, Trump was perfect in his answer here, but this is Brett Baer yesterday and Brett Hume, or I think it was yesterday or the day before, talking about photo ID. Here we go.
Schumer and President Trump on this issue.
The SAVE Act is an abomination. It's Jim Crow 2.0 across the country. We are going to do everything we can to stop it.
We should have voter ID, by the way. We should have a lot of the things that I think everybody wants to see. Who would not want voter ID? Only somebody that wants to cheat. Think of it. We don't have voter ID, and the Democrats don't want it. And the reason they don't want it is because they want to cheat.
Britt, Jim Crow 2.0, we heard that again and again. Remember that Georgia election law that was going to be so bad? Yeah. And then it turns out it really wasn't that bad for preventing voting. In fact, it went up.
What rubbish. That's right. What rubbish all that stuff is. And, it's interesting to hear Chuck Schumer and Democrats saying there's an abomination. They're going to do everything to stop it. The polling shows that 71% of Democrats are in favor of it. So I think it's a political loser for them. Whether it will be framed or brought up or presented to the public in such a way that everybody sees it and cares about it is unknown at this point. But the issue's there, and the feeling about it is obvious. So I think it's a political winner for Republicans and a good idea to boot.
71% of Democrats overall, 76% of minorities are for it. 81% of independents. Now, we've talked about independents and how important they are. So I think it's great that the way that Trump explained it, which was just say they want it in order to cheat. They want illegal immigrants to vote. That's it. Yep. We all know it. You know it. We all know it. And then this audio that we did play in the first hour. but I want to play it again because the Republicans need to pound this over and over and over again. Remember, the Democrats look and say, we can lie, and as long as we stick to the lie and are repetitive with it over and over again, most of the time it works. Well, it hasn't worked on voter ID at all. In fact, over the last 10 years, it's only moved in one direction, more people being in favor of voter ID, where now it's up to, remember, I thought it was like 76, 77%. I was looking at some numbers yesterday. That's where it was a few years ago, and now it's up to 83%. Mm-hmm. And the Democrats pounding on it, that it's racism, Jim Crow 2.0. And glad that Brett Baer remembered that, the Georgia election, as you did on yesterday's show when you said, no, this is Jim Crow 3.0.
That's right.
We've already had 2.0. That was Georgia. But this ad was on social media, and this ought to go viral. And Republicans need to be playing this constantly over the next 2 weeks. Here it is.
Democrats used to believe that border security and immigration enforcement were just common sense ideas. Don't believe it? Take their word for it.
Americans are right to demand better border security and better enforcement of the immigration laws.
We simply cannot allow people to pour into the United States undetected, undocumented, unchecked.
We've had 5 million undocumented workers come over the borders. It has become an extraordinary problem.
All Americans, not only in the states most heavily affected, but in every place in this country, are rightly disturbed by the large numbers of illegal aliens entering our country. And we must do more to stop it.
Biden, yes or no, would you allow the cities to ignore the federal law?
No.
Any city should listen to the Department of Homeland Security. The city made a mistake not to deport someone that the federal government strongly felt should be deported.
Just because your child gets across the border, that doesn't mean the child gets to stay.
We do not think the comprehensive health care benefits should be extended to those who are undocumented workers and illegal aliens. We do not want to do anything to encourage more illegal immigration.
People say, well, why can't you stop illegal immigrants from coming here? And the number one answer we give is when they come here, they can get jobs, get benefits against the law because of fraud.
Illegal immigration is wrong, plain and simple.
Open borders. You're doing away with the concept of a nation state.
Our nation, like all nations, has the right and obligation to control its borders, and no matter how decent they are, no matter their reasons, the 11 million who broke these laws should be held accountable.
For decades, these weren't controversial or radical ideas. The only thing that changed is them.
And then what they should say after that, the only thing that changed is them because they wish to cheat. They want illegal immigrants to vote.
Yep.
And you pound that over and over again as messaging matters. You know, messaging, how you message and the frequency of how you message, especially on topics that are so self-evident that you've got over 80% of the American public on your side, landslide numbers of Democrats, minorities, and independents. Oh, my God, pound on it.
Well, it's, again, you're already there in the polls. It's going to sound repetitive, but it's something you have to do because you have to, on this issue, every issue, and with every poll, you have to run like you're 20, 40, 60 points behind. And you should be, right now, pressing this issue like you don't have even 20% of America on your side. It's a very simple equation. The math on this has never been hard. I can't remember a time in my career where this wasn't an issue, where the Democrats clearly wanted an open border, and they knew eventually they were going to get to it. But at some point, and you just heard the audio, they had to talk strong. They had to talk a certain game. And now they're full on with the radicals. Open the borders, everybody come in, everybody gets to vote.
Yep.
Hey, Democrats, does that mean Russians too? What about Russian influence?
Yeah, apparently what they want is large potatoes compared to the 2016 election.
Mm-hmm.
20s, wow.
Yeah.
10 years, man.
Yeah. Full decade.
With the entire Facebook thing, right? Was it Facebook? Yeah.
What were they spending? $110,000?
$100,000 in ads.
Yeah.
Or on Facebook to elect Trump or whatever it was. I mean, that was a nothing burger compared to all of them. And again, it's important to play what they have said their entire lives before they realized they can't convince the American public. They don't believe they can convince the American public on the issues where the Democratic Party stands, so they wish to cheat. That's how you win that issue. Say they wish to cheat. They wish to cheat. They want illegal immigrants to vote. By the way, say cheat and follow that by illegal immigrants to vote. The whole point with Democrats is you need to close the door completely to any rebuttal. And you can do it on these issues. Because if you say we need, they're only doing it because they wish to cheat. Well, cheat how? What do you mean cheat? Don't let him even ask that question. You finish that off. They want illegal immigrants to vote. And when they get the question of how do you know that? Process of elimination.
Yeah.
They were completely against illegal immigrants voting.
Yep.
They were completely against illegal immigrants being in the United States. What changed? They wish to cheat.
Yep.
And this one here, Colin Wright from the Manhattan Institute, the same day that the American Society of Plastic Surgeons came out against, quote, gender-affirming, end of quote, surgeries for minors, the American Medical Association now states that they agree with them that surgical interventions in minors should be generally deferred to adulthood. The AMA said in a statement to National Review that because the evidence for gender-affirming surgical intervention in minors is insufficient for us to make a definitive statement, the AMA agrees with the ASPS that surgical interventions in minors should generally be deferred to adulthood. What do they think? That generally is going to save them with the far left by putting generally in there? Should be generally deferred, not absolutely deferred. They're trying to ride the fine line.
Well, I'll tell you this. It's part of a very definitive shift.
Yeah.
And it's all happening now within a matter of days.
And it's not Republicans.
Nope.
It's civil suits. It's the victims.
Well, and I said the other night, the medical community is going to have to come to terms on this. You can't keep doing this without it being a massive liability.
We are Red Eye Radio.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Wow. I mean, there's so much news that we cannot forget to talk about the entertaining Democratic primary in Texas for U.S. Senate. Between James Tallarico and Jasmine Crockett.
Right.
My current representative in Congress.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that the accusation that Tallarico said about what's his name? Colin Allred, that he is a mediocre black. That's the accusation from a woman who's a political, I think, podcaster, influencer, whatever, who also is black. He says that's a mischaracterization of it. But I'm telling you, when Tallarico came out, he's insistent on debating the fact that abortion is approved in the Bible.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, dude, you know where you are.
Right. No, that was all over social media.
And experts, dude.
Oh, my gosh.
Historians on the Bible going, no, it's not. Stop
Yeah.
that. But politically, you know where you are? This is Texas.
Right.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.